Hello, everybody. I got another Nora video. 30 seconds each. The most popular atheist questions. Also, Nora's going to go first because I prepared the questions, so she'll answer first, and then I'll go, and we'll do it in that order. Go.
I read it. Okay. Why does God allow suffering? Can I think about my answer for 4 seconds? Oh. I struggled with this one for a really long time because, and why I didn't believe in God for so long was because why could he suffer? Why could he allow suffering? But it's because Satan has dominion over earth and God allows us to suffer because he knows it'll make us stronger. And I know that that's such a cop-out answer. It really annoyed me for a long time, but it genuinely is true that he will give us suffering. And that's why I thank him for my trials. Whoa. That
was funny because I didn't tell Nora. She has literally no time to think about it. And then she goes, my answer is really simple. I discovered pretty quick when I became a Christian or born again or whatever that just like Nora said, Satan was actually created after humans inhabited Earth. Like he didn't have dominion over Earth yet. So God created Satan for the purpose of testing us and molding us into something bigger and better. In other words, when we get to heaven, we're going to be like superhumans because we gain a new perspective that we can't get without suffering.
Where is God if he's so powerful? God is omnipresent, so he is everywhere. He's in the people that you talk to. He's in the beauty that you see, the nature that you see. And we heard a quote recently that was like, if earth is as close to heaven as people who are going to hell will get, and as close to hell as people who are going to heaven will get. And there's a little bit of both. Like God's thumbprint is all over the earth. And once I started believing and started asking for it, I started to see him literally everywhere. And if there's two of you, he will appear.
Two of you?
Well, he says that in the Bible.
I got to use some of my time to clarify two of you if you're here. It says in the Bible, if two people are gathered in his name and you're praying, then he also will be there. But I think like Nora said, why doesn't God just show himself everywhere? If God showed himself so obviously, like there's a big man stomping around throwing lightning bolts, we would not submit to him out of our own choice and free will. We would submit to him out of fear. So that is to me why God is both powerful and mysterious, because we have to choose to submit.
If God knows everything, including the future and our choices, how do humans have free will? This is one that's really a challenge, I think, to wrap your head around. But the best metaphor that I heard was like marriage. So if you were to kidnap someone and force them to say yes to you and force them to get married to you and have your babies, like that's not love. But if you fall in love and you woo them and you have mutual respect and understanding and you ask them, they still have to say yes and accept that invitation. And that, I think, is what it is with God, is that he loves us so much that he gives us free will.
It's going to be crazy to explain in 30 seconds, but free will is something God can't experience because he's an omniscient hive mind of everything created, period. He's the God of love and creation. He knows exactly what's going on in your brain and what will go on in your brain. God gives us free will because we're made in his image and we are what he loves. Satan was 100% perfect, but it wasn't what God loved. God loved us because we're imperfect, and he gives us the gift of free will even though everything in our lives is planned. In addition, when we die, we become God, which means we also plan our lives before we even come down here.
Why is there no hard, concrete evidence that God exists? Why the mystery? As William said in like 2 questions ago, I think that is what it is. Like God is mystery, and belief is not seeing. It's like Santa Claus. Like why does a Santa Claus not present himself? And obviously it's because he's not real, but maybe he is. I don't know. You have to believe. I regret that I went down this path for these 30 seconds. You have to believe in order to see. It's believing is not seeing. I hope William does a better job on this one.
Gotta go again because our cat just interrupted me. Long story short, God he works in mystery again because he doesn't want us to submit out of fear. He wants us to submit out of free will. But also love has an element, even in like your family and friendships, of like you have to sacrifice. Love and hope and faith can't exist if there's not an element of mystery. Think about it. There's no such thing as hope if we knew everything, right? And that's literally the first sin, is biting the knowledge of good versus evil. So that's why the mystery.
Why it's called a leap of faith. Why are there no modern miracles? there are modern miracles. There are miracles every single day. The near-death experiences, once I started to go down that path, I would say that all of those are miracles. People who literally die, their hearts stop beating, and then they come back to life. There are people who are cured, people who heal, and I can't even think of however many others. Like they really are everywhere once you start looking for them. I guess I don't even need the whole time for that.
Yeah, I'm right there with Nora. Like, it's one of those things that obviously media doesn't talk about, but there are miracles all the time. There are also like demonic attacks all the time. People claim to see ghosts, they claim to get abducted, and there's just too much evidence surrounding this stuff. People label me kind of as a conspiracy theorist, but truly, like, I believe people until there's evidence not to, because why would they be lying? And then, to me, miracles happen all the time on both sides of the fence, good and bad. You just have to start looking and believing before you see them.
Why does the Bible contradict itself constantly? I am still learning the Bible, but I will say that being in having contradictions does not necessarily mean it's incorrect, because we all have our own experiences and our own ways of interpreting the world. And so when we say there are multiple truths, it's because you have a truth and I have a truth, and both of those are truths. There is still an objective truth, and that is God. But all of us as humans are fallible, and it was still written by humans, even if it is the divine inspiration of God's word.
My answer is actually a little bit different than Nora. I agree with everything she said. I actually am a firm believer that the reason why there are contradictions in the Bible is because of multiverse theory. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the first four books of the New Testament. Each of them give slightly different recounts. Like in one, Jesus is carrying his cross, and the other he's not. I think it's because there is a multiverse simulation going on, and the Bible is asking you to accept, like Nora said, there are multiple truths, but only one objective truth, which is God.
Why is the stoning, slavery, and incest allowed in the Old Testament? There are a lot of really bad things that happen in the Old Testament. Like, the entire Old Testament is us messing up and God giving us rules because we're stupid. And then Jesus comes and basically makes a lot of that moot, to be honest. Not that everything is irrelevant. The Old Testament is still relevant to understand, but it is important to take in the context of the New Testament, which is about love and love thy neighbor, and God and Jesus died for our sins. That's why it's such a powerful thing. So stoning and slavery and incest are not good things. They're still sins.
So I wrote a book and I thought it was really good. It's about the two walks of life. And essentially everybody's got two walks. The first walk is when you're going out in the world and conquering and you don't fully believe in God. And then the second walk is when you come into God and accept that you don't know anything and that it's all a mystery, right? And I think that the Old Testament and New Testament is literally this. The Old Testament is humans walking around in the wilderness, doing things like incest, slavery, whatever, and it doesn't work. Then we had to have God send his only son and die for us, and we all came into God under the expectation of love. That's why it's allowed.
Why would God send those he loves to hell for eternity? This is a tough one. This is a really hard one, I think, to wrap your head around, but the truth is, all hell is the absence of God. That is what hell is. It is awful to think about because everything good comes from God. But those who go to hell are getting what they asked for. Not that they're asking to be tortured, but they say that they don't need God. So God says, okay, you don't need me. You can go to hell. It's a damnation because godless is awful.
Yeah, this was hard for me to wrap my head around too, but hell was created for Satan. Satan corrupted humans. We're naturally born with evil hearts. Like, we're sinners whether we want to be or not, and only through Jesus can we redeem ourselves and save ourselves from the wrath of God. Also, it has to be eternity, because do you really want Satan in heaven? No, we're going to lock away all these things away forever. I do think if you beg for like a family or friend that doesn't make it, God might show mercy. But I also think most people don't realize it's forever.
Why not reincarnation instead of eternal punishment? We're going to have to ask God that one. I don't know, man. I am not God. So in terms of why not reincarnation, that's not the way it is. I actually don't know that I have like a good answer for this, because, I think he is a very fair God and he is not a confused God. And so he gives us a fair chance to come to him in this life. And I don't think that there are infinite chances that that's the harsh truth.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to go down the same path Nora went. I really don't know. That's up to God. But what I can say is that I saw Jesus during my near-death experience, and there's all these others have said it. If Jesus got brought back to life, by God, then God validated all the claims that Jesus said. Jesus talked more about hell than heaven, fun fact. And Jesus is very clear that it is miserable and it's going to be there forever. So that's a God thing. I think the eternity thing is his decision, and it's fair ultimately.
We should do a video on that. Why would Jesus be the only way to heaven if he loves everyone? Why allow other religions? This is also a really tough one to wrap your head around, I think, because I feel like I was so reluctant and resistant to Christianity for so long because I do see myself as an open-minded person. The truth is that I still love everyone, and it's not my choice. Jesus genuinely loves everybody. But at the same time, if God is real and if God is the one true God, then he has to be fair. That is like the only consideration. I have so much more to say for that one.
Well, unfortunately. Yeah, for me, why he allows other religions, it goes back to free will. And also, as I've learned, I used to love Buddhism. Like, there's a lot of things that other religions tend to agree on: family, love, honesty, being kind to each other. I truly think most people don't realize where Christianity is truly different than every other religion is, A, it admits Jesus came back to life and it doesn't drown out the historical evidence. But B, you completely kill your ego and say, I don't know anything. I have to go through Jesus. And that is an ego death most religions don't force you to do.
Why are Christians usually so politically conservative? I have so much to say about this one that will not fit into 30 seconds, but religion and politics, I feel very strongly, don't mix. Not that, I mean, in the Bible, we are taught that you need to follow your leaders, and sometimes leaders can be ordained. I'm not saying that all political leaders are godless, but they really don't mix. I think politics should have all the options, to be honest, because everyone needs to have choice, because free will is a thing. And Christianity, I have so much more to say on that one.
If you guys want to follow up from Nora on that question, she could probably do a 10-minute video. My answer to that, though, is that, like Nora said, politics and Christianity really shouldn't mix. Theoretically, God puts people in positions of power to lead from a place of serving him, but the issue is you can't serve two masters, and it even says in the Bible directly, do not follow leaders of men, follow God. So to me, I don't know why so many conservatives think that Christianity is tied to it. Literally separate the two. Christianity is loving everybody. Politics is divisive.
How can the Bible be literal? It is both literal and symbolic in that, let's take the Genesis. Let's take God creating Earth in 7 days. Does that contradict evolution potentially? Maybe not. I think science is our way of explaining what we can never understand in the divine. And these 7 days might not be a 24-hour cycle, or they could be. We have no idea. But you can't pick and choose, I think, is the hard truth that I've had to come to terms with. It's either literal or it's not.
Yeah, so for me, the Bible is also literal and symbolic. Again, God works in mystery. There are things we are not supposed to know as humans, and the original sin was biting the knowledge of good versus evil. God doesn't want us knowing everything, but there are things he puts in the Bible for a reason. I think it all literally happened. We just don't know how, and especially in the day and age of people being skeptics, you're always going to be able to pick holes in the Bible. God is asking you to have faith and to see him without seeing him. What do you think?
That was hard to get everything in 30 seconds, but it is fun because I feel like only in the last 2 months, I feel that a lot of things have started to click for me. And I used to come at this from such a skeptical perspective, and now I can see these questions from a curious perspective. And I would love to know, I want to know everybody's perspective, but like my faith is so steadfast so suddenly, and I really can't see that as anything other than like being filled with the Holy Spirit, because I feel so strongly that he's real. But at the same time, I would love to continue to poke holes and never stop learning in a lot of the same ways. It's like holding the faith with truth. I will say something else I really like about Christianity, because I came at it from like a pretty skeptical perspective at first, is how much historical evidence there is. And I started there. Like, it was easier for me to believe in Jesus than it was for me to believe in God. And I think for a lot of people, it's the other way around. But for me, it was pretty hard to believe in this omnipresent thing. But like, Jesus has so much historical knowledge, or so much historical context, so many eyewitnesses, that once I believed in that, I had to admit that everything he said in the Bible was also real. So that I kind of work backwards from there, and it's just crazy coming to that faith and how fast it can fill you with like sureness. So this is fun, but it is hard to do in 30 seconds. I'd be down to do more of these.
Well, thank you, Nora. If you guys have questions you'd like us to rapid fire answer, we'll be happy to do it. Or if you want a full video where we break down one of these questions in more like 5 to 10 minutes, we can do that. Or if you just want to say hi to Nora, you can do that too and let us know. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.